This is a sharpened 90-degree spine. It can definitely throw some sparks, as I will show you right now. Hey guys, this is Prepping with Sarge, and we are here today to review the Kerf Carver from Woods Monkey. I've been waiting to play with this, looking forward to reviewing it for you. Stay with me now. All right, so you guys have seen the Kerf Carver before. I've shown this in a couple pictures, and if you've been following Woods Monkey over on his webpage, you probably have seen this one before. The Kerf Carver has a 2-inch blade of ABL stainless. It is a Scandi grind. We're gonna show you some close-ups of this here in just a second. The thickness is 1/8 inch thick, and its overall length is 6 inches long, okay? This is a sharpened 90-degree spine. It can definitely throw some sparks, as I will show you right now. All right, you get the idea. A sharpened 90-degree spine will definitely toss sparks easier than a non-sharpened 90-degree spine. Some people have issues with, if you like to put your finger on the back of the blade when you're carving, just be careful that that is sharp, and yes, I have cut myself with it. Handle is micarta. There's a lot of different patterns available. I really like this green and black. Micarta is one of my favorite for a fixed blade full tang knife because it just feels really good. Micarta has a tendency, at least for me, when it gets a little bit wet with either sweat or rain or humidity, tends to actually feel more grippy for me. So I've really had good luck with it. It is one of my preferred types of handles. All right, let's take a little bit of a close-up look here. I want you to get a good idea of the craftsmanship here. This is the Kerf Carver again from Woods Monkey. You've got the logo there, and if you see any scratches or anything like that, it's just because I've been working with this one for a couple weeks. Now, AEBL stainless is an excellent steel. It has excellent hardness, durability, very, very easy to sharpen, and has pretty good corrosion resistance. There you can see that Scandi grind a little bit better. So a Scandi grind, for those who don't know, is a wedge-shaped that the cut on the blade on the edge comes in from both sides, and the cut in from the steel tends to be near the end of the edge, which means that you have a lot more thickness behind it, which tends to give a little bit more, well, actually a lot more strength to the blade, which makes for a really good bushcraft knife. This is why a lot of bushcrafters prefer a good Scandi grind. You can do some really good woodwork with it, and it'll hold that edge really nice, not prone. Scandi grind is a lot less prone to damage, to chipping and bending and rolling. And you can see we're just cutting really nice. This is actually oak, by the way. Cutting into it really nice. Okay, we'll do some wedge cuts here too as we're talking. So, you know, if you're into bushcraft tasks, or if you like to whittle or wood carve, you're gonna want a couple different types of different sizes. This Kerf Carver is nice for those really small precision type cuts that you're gonna want to be making. Okay, and then, you know, I'm not good at wood carving, to be honest with you. So what I do is mostly for like fire making and things like that. I probably do need to work on learning how to make some tools like spoons and spatulas and things like that for bushcrafting. But this will definitely put the work in. So what I would probably be using this mostly for is when I'm making small firewood for like my solo stove, things like that. So what I'm trying to do here is just cut into the wedge, cut a little wedge a little bit, so it'll make this break just a little bit easier. And what I'm gonna eventually be able to do is do a nice clean break there, and that's gonna be the perfect size for my solo stove. You understand? So, you know, there's other ways to do this. You could, of course, just bend it on your knee, but if you want it, make sure you got it at the right size. This would be, you know, kind of create those little weak points in the wood. There we go. And again, this is hardwood I'm working with, guys. This is oak. Okay. And as much as possible, you do want to try to cut away from yourself. Occasionally you are gonna try to have to make a precision cut into yourself a little bit. Just be careful. You know, I could turn that around, being a little bit lazy, right? Because the more you're cutting, especially with something like this, where it's going to be a little bit more resistant to your cuts, the more you're able to cut away from yourself, the safer it's going to be. See how I just slipped there? That's why you cut away from yourself. And all this here that you're gathering, you could use that for good tinder, right? You just put a spark on that, it's going to take. Now, of course, if I was doing this at home, I would use a saw, save myself a lot of time. This is like for, you're out in the field, right? And you're backpacking. You can't bring every single tool with you, but you want to get a little wood going for your solo stove, right? You got the idea, guys. All right, let's try this again. There we go. So now you got 2 pieces, perfect size for your solo stove. And I want to say thank you to Brian, by the way, for sending this out so that I could review this for you all. My kerf carver came with this beautiful leather sheath. Take a look at that craftsmanship there. Kydex is also available, and remember, there are a number of different handle patterns that you can get. I believe they actually did also G10, did a series with G10. So that just kind of depends on what you like. If you prefer more of the micarta or G10. I like G10. I'm sorry, I like micarta for my fixed blades, and I like G10 for my folders. This is the kerf carver. Again, 2 inches of AEB-L stainless steel. Scandi grind. Let's give it some sharpness tests. I mean, I kind of just did, but let's give it some more. All right, let's start with some leather cordage. I'm gonna do a slicey test first. Okay, no problems there, of course. And now I'm gonna do a push cut, which is should get a little bit more resistance on this because I'm not using the blade the way it's supposed to be used, just using the overall sharpness to try to push through, like brute force through the leather. Okay, still not bad, not bad. And let's see, I'm gonna cut one more strand here. I'll do a slicey again. There we go. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 4 strands of leather cordage together. All right, this should be a little bit more of a challenge for it, and we're gonna do a slicey test here. See how it does. Okay, not bad, not bad. I'm really impressed so far. Let's do a little bit of paracord next. So we'll cut 1, we'll do a slice test again. So slice again, we're just like, think of like literally like cutting a slice. Okay, okay, and now next one I'm gonna do a push cut. So push cuts you sometimes are gonna do with carving or whittling. So again, I'm just like genuinely just brute force. Okay, definitely struggled a little bit with that. I actually hit the camera on my recoil. And then let's do our famous 3-strand paracord, and we'll do a little slicey test here. Okay, and now we're gonna take our 3 strands together, and we're gonna see how we can do slicing through the 3 strands of 550 paracord. Okay. Whoops. All right, 3 strands of paracord 550 here versus the kerf carver from Woods Monkey. All right, there you go, folks. That is Sarge's famous 3-strand paracord test, which I do on all my knife videos. It is trademarked, so you can't use it. I'm just kidding. All right, so this is a little piece of basswood, which is significantly easier to work with than oak. This is typically the kind of wood, basswood's one of the types of woods that people would work with for whittling or wood carving. And as you can see, the kerf carver is doing nice work with this. All right. Oops, that's me. I made a bad cut. That was my fault, not the blade. Again, this is more basswood, definitely easy to carve with. Just want to kind of show you the capabilities of the curve carver here. Cool. All right, let's take one last look at this here. This is the curve carver from Woods Monkey. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is this one that you need to add? Is this something that you might use in your collection? All right, folks, that's the curve carver from Woods Monkey. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this one that you need to add to your knife collection? Remember, if you're gonna be at Blade Show Atlanta, stop over at the LT Wright Knives booth. Make sure you say hi to Brian over at Woods Monkey. Tell him Prepping with Sarge sent you. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.